African people, no matter where you come from on this globe, we are African people. We are the vanguard of a new generation of people who are calling not only us back home, but for the exchange that really should take place on this planet. I am certainly honored to be able to say the words Kwame Nkrumah. Is that all right with you all? Our great leader who gave us a vision that at the time people could not understand and they didn't quite see. But today that vision is becoming a reality. We have new leaders that are calling for an Africa of justice and equity. We have new leaders who are suggesting to us that not only are we the breadbasket of the entirety of the world, but we enjoy the cultural exchange of each of us who may speak Spanish. You might. You might be Islamic. Salam alaikum. You might be Jewish. Shalom alaikum. You might just be from the church. Amen. Amen. But we have all that we need in our collective unity. We have it. We just have to pull it together. This is what this is all about. And so I thank our chairman, Olivier Kamanzi. You all give it up for him. He works extraordinarily hard for us. We are blessed to have someone who is dedicated to a concept that has been repeated over and over again by many, many leaders before. But we have to continue that work. As Beyonce just said in the song Bigger, we're part of something much bigger. It's bigger than you. It's not about you as an individual. It's not about me. It's about the collective we that makes us come and celebrate Africa Day today. There were some questions that came to mind for me, and you all know I am a side preacher, so you got to be careful with me on this microphone. There are some questions, though, that emerges. As I'm a member of the Illinois General Assembly, we are in session. I ran here, and I got to run back there. But I would not miss this for the world, because it is important for African Americans, specifically, to recognize their Africanness. Ashe? This is important, because the narrative was changed for us. There was an unfortunate break in our history that took us away from our original places and names, our religion, our culture, our dress. All of those things were taken out of our cultural experience. And today we are calling them back. And so I want to change the narrative. I want to change the narrative of King Leopold. I want to change the narrative of the Berlin Conference. I want to change the narrative that says we can't go from Ghana and Togo without a visa or a passport. I want to change the narrative that I'm only an American and only have an American passport, but the reality is more than that. I intend to change the narrative, not just for myself, but for my children and my grandchildren. Citizenship is important, and where you belong is important. And for people who have been misplaced, we often don't know where we belong. And so we get lost in concepts that are not ours. And I reject the colonialism. I reject the exploitation. I reject, from my experience, the enslavement period. We recognize the history, but we don't dwell there, because we know we were great people way before the interruption. 1.4 billion people on the continent of Africa. Historians, leaders, masters, masons, everything that you need to build an economy. But they need us, and we need them. We need to exchange between each other what we have learned, and this Africa Day celebration is my first. I grew up not far from here, and yet I didn't know that we should have been celebrating Africa Day. That is part of the recapturing of our history. The declarations that have passed in the past, the declarations of yesterday, and the one that we will discuss on these panels today. The Africa we want, 2063. It is not a slogan. It is a plan and a platform. It is political, it is social, it is religious. It is important for us to be in the conversation. So today you will see those panels that will sit before you today with those who have much more expertise than I. But they will share with you how we develop the Africa that we want and carry it into being. We don't want to remember some of the things that took us away, but we do want to recapture what has brought us here today. I am here with my husband, Clerk Ammons, who's the first African-American male clerk in the entirety of the state of Illinois. And my staff member who has traveled with me. I am honored to share with you the reason why you should be a part of the 6th Region Diaspora. If you're not a member, we can help you with that. Our chairman has worked not only on this program, but the point of us doing business exchange, the point of us doing social exchange, the point of us doing cultural exchange is part of our human experience. And so I'm going to celebrate my birthday, which is June 1st. I will celebrate my birthday on the motherland, on the continent, in Ghana. I leave on June 2nd. So I am committed 100% to revolutionizing the concept of what it means to be an African American woman. That's a revolutionary concept. And I want to live in the space and the spirit of all the revolutionaries that came before me. And I'm so honored. Time won't allow it today. But if you get an opportunity to go to the Illinois General Assembly's website, there's a resolution that we passed for the Pan-African Congress, the 8th Pan-African Congress that will take place this year in Zimbabwe. And I hope to lead a delegation right from Chicago to the Pan-African Congress. Amen. That resolution is 262. So if you want to know what it is, it's HR 292 is the resolution honoring the 8th Pan-African Congress, and hopefully we will be sending our own delegation from Illinois. Illinois is a central state, and it has been involved in all of the PACs in the past, and we hope the 6th region here will be involved in the future PAC 8. And so if you're interested in that, I'll give you my information. I'm happy to help coordinate. And our chairman, Kamanzi, thank you so much for letting us celebrate together today. Africa 60. This is our 60th African Day celebration. Thank you so much. And welcome to all of you from us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Representative. It's such a privilege to be among this vibrant group right here. Now it's an honor and a privilege for me to invite one of the vibrant backbones of organizing this event, Maria Haddon, the Alderwoman of 49th Ward of the City of Chicago, for her welcome remarks.
Happy Africa Day. I want to again thank our venue host, Loyola University, and thank you, Cecilia Rodriguez, for working with Chairman Kamanzi, with the team to set this up. I only met Olivier, was it last summer? I think it was last summer, last fall. And we're here today because he asked a very simple question. So we met at the ribbon cutting of a new expanded location of an existing business in Rogers Park, Emma's African Hair Braiding Salon. She's now a beauty emporium. And Olivier let me know who he was, what he did a little bit. He's pretty humble, actually, very humble bit of who he is and what he does. And talked to me about the possibility of hosting an Africa Day Summit here in Rogers Park. And as I do with lots of things that sound like good ideas, I said, yes, of course, of course. And I really want to commend you. Thank you for working with our team. Thank you for choosing Rogers Park to be the space where we could hold this today. And I hope that all of you feel welcome here in the 49th Ward. I've been newly inaugurated, so you're catching me at the beginning of my second term serving in Chicago City Council. And it's a privilege and an honor to serve the 49th Ward. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Rogers Park or the 49th Ward, this little corner of Chicago, 49, the 50th Ward, 48th Ward, Edgewater, Westridge, Rogers Park, we're some of just the most diverse communities that you're going to find pretty much anywhere in the country. From country of origin to language spoken to religious practice to economic level, we have just historically for decades been a welcoming space, a space where many cultures, especially cultures of the diaspora, have called their first home in Illinois. And even when those communities grow and move on and establish themselves elsewhere, we end up with a lot of the benefits and kind of the cultural remnants of their initial start here. You'll find a lot of that in our food, so I want to give a shout out to our dinner providers today. Dinner was amazing. Thank you. And if you visit Rogers Park again, Rogers Park, Westridge, and Edgewater, you can eat around the world here. So from Eritrean food to Haitian food to Senegalese food to Caribbean food, just pretty much anywhere you could think in the diaspora, you can find the food here. You can find a lot of small business owners who have started their enterprises here in the United States. And our culture and our community here is stronger and better for it. I can't top Rep. Carol Ammons, but I also want to say that the personal significance of being able to celebrate Africa Day with all of you as being an African American woman here in the United States, growing up in the Midwest and having so many generations, right? So many generations between where I know, because Ancestry DNA told me, right, where some of that ancestry comes from, but having so much time and distance and so many lives and so many experiences that separate me from the continent, it's really challenging. And so being able to connect through this organization, through celebrating this day, and through what I hope will be many years of being able to work together to connect our communities in the diaspora is something that also is good for me, right? It's good for my spirit, it's good for my development, it's good for my growth. And I really just graciously appreciate all of you being able to be here to experience that with me and to share your experiences with our entire community. So thank you so much for being here and choosing Rogers Park.
Wonderful. Well, to see that all this is coming together and the brainchild that put this all together, we need to take a moment. If you would, put your hands together for the opening remarks to come from the chairman of the African Diaspora 6th Region. Also, he's the founder and president of African Global Chamber of Commerce, my dear brother, Olivio Kamanzi.
Thank you so much. Thank you. The MCs, Dr. Isetu, thank you so much for what you're doing. Brother Ronnie, Dr. Ronnie, thank you so much. What to say? I'm humbled to have all of you in this room. When I see the room is full, even there's no seat, it makes me feel, you know what? I owe you the spirit of Ubuntu. I am because you are. On behalf of the leadership of Africa Diaspora 6th Region, the Illinois chapter, and the Africa Global Chamber of Commerce, I'm humbled and honored to welcome you all to this beautiful day, Africa Day. Welcome to Africa Day, where we celebrate the 60 years of existence of Africa formation when the African Union was formed. The celebration of this year, we themed it as Africa, Building Africa We Want, discussing Africa 2063 agenda, celebrating 60th anniversary and leveraging the African diaspora. The commemoration of the 16th anniversary of the Organization for African Unity, now called African Union, symbolizes the recognition of the sacrifice of the founding fathers and the unity between Africans in diaspora and Africans in the continent of Africa. Today, we are grateful to have with us our special guest and the keynote speaker in the name of His Excellency Ambassador Hilda Suka Mafudza. Actually, she's going to join us virtually because as we're celebrating 60 years, she's in Canada bringing all people, all ambassadors to Canada to celebrate. Therefore, she could not be here with us. She will be live here. I hope the technical team, the team will make sure we have a live here. So also we are blessed to have the chief guest today, who is known as the ambassador, Dr. Sameh Abdoulaye, the Consul General of the Consulate General of Egypt in Chicago. Can you stand please to be recognized? Thank you so much. We have the diplomats representing Chicago African Diplomatic Corps. Please, if you can stand, all of you. Dr. Ariette, Louis Basel, thank you so much for being here. Also, we have Congo, Malunga, my good friend from Congo, is here. Thank you so much for being here. I also have to tell you, when we talk about the diaspora, it's a representation of all continents. We have people from South America. So if you can stand when you are from South America, please. Can you stand? Colombia is in the house. Everybody in Colombia. Everybody in the Colombia. We must have also Caribbean. The Caribbean, we must have some people from Jamaica, from Haiti. So anyone, I know they're gonna come, they're gonna arrive. We have a people in diaspora. Those African American here in Chicago, can you stand please? Please stand to be recognized. African American. Thank you. Africans, let's say African immigrants from the continent. Can you stand up please? Mali, Liberia, Senegal, Zambia, DRC Congo, Ghana, Congo, Cameroon in the house, Liberia, Ethiopia in the house, and then Benin in the house, Burundi in the house, Cote d'Ivoire in the Zambia in the house, Nigeria is in the house. Please raise your hand. Nigeria is in the house. So, really? Tanzania, of course. Yeah, Tanzania. I can go. So, where Sudan? Somaliland. So, ladies and gentlemen, you can see we are all represented. We have, okay, I reserve the country for reasons. We have a special guest all the way from Uganda, representing the President of Uganda, His Excellency President Yoweri Museveni, Professor Florence Muranga. Please, can you stand to be recognized, please? All the way from Uganda, she arrived last night to celebrate this with us today. So, also we have so many people. We have Diego Angula Marines. Is here? Sorry, no, it's coming. So we have also Dr. Norma Jackson. Can you stand, please, to be recognized? Stand a little bit. I'm going to ask you to stand a little bit while I'm asking you to stand. This woman is very special. She just came back from Africa, from South Africa, from Kenya and Ghana, if I'm not mistaken, Ethiopia as well. She took a liberty to take the first elected vice president for Colombia, African in diaspora, who was elected first time in the history for Colombia. She took her to all of these 4 countries. Thank you so much for what you've done. Thank you so much. Also in the house, of course, we have a special guest, COP Controller of State of Illinois, Susana Mendoza. Can you stand, please? Everybody knows her. She's a champion. She's leading the state, paying the bills on time. She found the state of Illinois bankrupt. Now she turns around. You did what you did. Congratulations. Thank you. Yes, absolutely. If you want to be paid, you're a contractor, you want the bill to be paid, see her. All right? You have to see her. She's the one who pays the bills. Faster than ever. She's going to tell you more. I don't want to take your time. All right? Of course, in the house also we have the mayor of Chicago. Brandon Johnson is represented by beautiful. He's the chief of policy, one of the highest senior in the mayor's office. Her name is Umi Gripsy. Can you stand to be recognized, please? Chief Police for Mayor of Chicago, Brandon Jones, is accompanied by her colleague, Husses. If you can stand to be recognized as well. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Before I conclude in recognizing everybody, I can't recognize everybody, but I have 2 individuals I want to introduce to you. I want to introduce to you one of my mentors here in the state of Illinois, who welcomed me when I arrived in Chicago. His name is Dr. Ewa. Ewa, can you be recognized, please? Please. Also, we, African diaspora here, we are very well organized, by the way. We do business, also we recognize immigrants, right? When it comes to policy making, advocacy of what we are doing, also welcoming immigrants, what we have today. We have what we call United African Organization with the name of FASICA, who is a FASICA, who represent Africa United Organization, which is one of leading African organizations in Chicago. Welcome, FASICA. Thank you so much for coming here. Also, I want to recognize, I can't go all and all, recognize each of you. Of course, there is one champion for this organization. Without her, we can't exist. Our General Secretary, Representative Ammons, Carol Ammons. Can you be recognized, please? So, I was in Springfield to make sure our voice are heard by the policymakers. I met the Speaker of the House, I met the President of the Senate, and then I made sure I meet you. Then when I met her, she said, I want to join this organization. At the time we were arriving at the next level of mobilizing diaspora, let's bring elected officials who are going to make those policies. If we're here as a diaspora, let's have a voice, make sure we have a policies protecting us, helping us. Thank you so much for the work you have done. They passed a resolution recognizing African diaspora in the state of Illinois. The resolution 402. Thank you so much. I'm also grateful to 49th Ward Alderwoman Maria Hagen, of course. Thank you so much. When we met, you accepted to join this organization. We are building, Africa will be strong and stronger when all of us will come together. We can't sleep at night when we know our children are sleeping out of our house. our parents, like His Excellency President Museveni, he sent his representative to make sure the children of Africa come back home. Thank you so much. Thank you. Also, our host tonight, Cecilia Rodriguez, who represents this beautiful facility. You see the water here? See how beautiful it is? So she decided to choose this venue. Is she here? Please, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Cecilia. So, as I said, ladies and gentlemen, I could not be here without standing on the shoulders of the founding fathers of Africa. People like Kwame Nkrumah, Mwalimu Nyerere, Jomo Kenyatta, Patrice Emery Lumumba, Sékou Touré for Guinea, Kenneth Kaunda, Gamal Abdel Nasser Hussein from Egypt, Haile Selassie, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Nelson Mandela, and many, many more who came before us for us to be here tonight. So let's give them a round of applause for what they have done to build this African Union we want. So our mission as an organization, as African Diaspora 6 region, which was established in 2019 when the ambassador of African Union to the US came here to Chicago to mobilize us in diaspora to come together to build the Africa we want. From that time, we decided to unite our diaspora to come together so we can connect with people on the continent, to advance our culture, advance our economic, intellectual, social programs, and the project to benefit diaspora Africans and the African the continent as we seek to build Africa we want. Africa Day was first held on May 25, 1963, in the Ethiopia capital of Addis Ababa, when 32 heads of states met to sign a charter creating Africa's first post-independence continent institution. The Organization of African Unity now has this purpose to make sure the African in diaspora may contribute back home. That's why we're doing it right now. They tasked us to make sure we connect with the continent to go and they have this blueprint. They developed a blueprint for us. How are we going to build Africa we want? I'm going to just summarize. There is 7 key pillars. What we need to do to build the Africa we want. Number 1, they want us to build a prosperous African based on inclusive growth and sustainable development. Second, an integrated continent, politically united based on the ideas of Pan-Africanism and the vision of African Renaissance. Number 3, an African of good governance, democracy, respect for human rights, justice, and the rule of law. Number 4, a peaceful and secure Africa. Number 5, an Africa with a strong culture, identity, common heritage, values, and ethics. Number 6, an African whose development is people-driven, relying on the potential of African people, especially its women and youth, and caring for children. Number 6, an African whose development is people-driven, relying on the potential of African people, especially its women, the youth, and the caring its children. 7 is Africa as a strong, united, resilient, influential global player and a partner. In other words, Africa will be built by us and for us. Of course, we need a partner, but the primary beneficiaries of the continent are us. That's what they tasked me to do, to tell you to join and to build the Africa we want. In 2019, I was called by the group called Afro Champions. Afro Champions is an initiative, Afro Champion Initiatives, established by the former head of state of Africa and the business people. They invited me to join the group in Africa. I can tell you some of Thabo Mbeki, former president for South Africa, is one of founding members. He's a co-chair of our Afro Champions Initiative. The world first person, Aliko Dangote for Nigeria, is also co-chair, and also have many, many business people. So we met in the, Ghana, Accra, where we have a secretariat, to work for the implementation of the 7 pillars I gave you. That's why we are here. If we have a blueprint, we just don't have to reinvent the wheel. We have the blueprint we have to follow to build all of us to come together to build Africa we want. So I can't finish my speech, it's too long, because I know everybody is watching me. They want me to finish. So you have my speech in the booklet you have in front of you, right? You can finish or I did not finish. In brief, many times we meet, we talk, we go. This group is not about talk, it's about doing. Like our senior, our chief guest was telling me today, 3 hours, Olivier, what are you going to do with 3 hours? We were at the Jordan celebration of independence this afternoon, right? Remember? He said that they did only 1 hour, why do 3 hours? I heard you, what you're saying. We have to be doers. What are we doing? So far, we have a mobilized diaspora. We have 1,500 engineers around the world, professionals. We have mobilized the IT people in technologies. We have a 600 African diaspora around the world. We have 43 chapters around the world, in South America, in Brazil, in China, in Europe, all over the world. So I was blessed to be named as a Global Finance Director for the organization. Africa Diaspora Development Institute, headed by the former Ambassador for African Union, Her Excellency Ambassador Arikana Chihombori Kwao. Wherever you are, my good sister, I salute you. She's my good sister. But you see, we have been working together to build this African diaspora. We've been working hard, we put our resources. Now, really, you do the work. So, in brief, also we have formed a bank, Africa Diaspora International Savings Bank. It's based in Antigua. We are doing a digital bank right now. We have received a license in 200 countries to operate this bank. It's operational right now. So we are working for Congress to have what we talk about AGOA, Africa Growth Opportunity Act, where African product can enter the U.S. and also the U.S. product can go to Africa, customer free of duties. So what we are doing, in December, the head of state for Africa, they had the summit for Biden administration. The Biden administration decided to allocate $55 billion to African continent. Last month, we met in Washington, D.C. What we did, we invited the Congress, we invited Biden administration, we invited so many people, what we call AGOA civil society. We're asking President Biden to allocate $5 billion to build our private sector, business here in Chicago and in the US, make sure we have a capacity we need to be able, this minority business, be able to export to Africa. Similarly, we wanted the business in the continent to be able to access the US markets. Those are a few initiatives we have already accomplished. The list is long. I don't have time to say everything. With that, I have to tell you, God bless you. Enjoy your night. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much, Mr. Kamanzi, for all your hard work and all the love you pour into all of what you are doing. I think it's very difficult for all of us in here to reject joining hands with this organization, right? And definitely, after all this love and light, it's very important for us all to join hands and build the Africa we really, really want. Now it's an honor for me to invite Honorable Susana Mendoza, Illinois State Comptroller, to the stage.
Some of you may be wondering, is it controller or is it comptroller? I will say it's like potato or potato, whichever you prefer. And even though it's spelled comptroller, which is how many people say it, the actual term is pronounced controller, but I say it both ways. Comptroller, if I'm happy, and if you make me mad, it's controller. But all kidding aside, it is my pleasure to be here. I want to start by saying Happy Africa Day. Good evening, and Ujambo Rafiki. I want to start by thanking my friend Olivier, who already left. Oh no, there you are. Yes. I can't believe you only did 3 hours. You could have talked for 3 hours here, Olivier, am I right? But it's wonderful. Thank you for your leadership. And as chairman of African Global Chamber of Commerce and African Diaspora 6th Region Association of Illinois, it is my pleasure to accept his invitation today as the chairman of these. And really, another round of applause for Olivier for his leadership. Thank you, my friend. It is a true honor to join you all to commemorate the 60th year anniversary of Africa Day, to celebrate the rich history and the culture of Africa's many shores, from Senegal to Somalia, from Morocco to Mozambique. In addition to the influence of African diaspora across every corner of the globe, it is a special privilege indeed to be here. And I want to remind you that today is all about you. Thanks as well to 49th Ward Alder Superperson, Maria Haddon, and to Loyola University Chicago for organizing this beautiful event. And I want to give a special shout out and hello and welcome to Chicago to one of my favorite people, Representative Carol Ammons, who I didn't realize was a secretary of this organization, but you learn something new every day. And to her other half, Claire Ammons, Erin Ammons, it's wonderful. They're always such a beautiful team. You know, they don't do anything separate. They're a team, and they win as a team, and they lead as a team, and it's wonderful to have you here. And I also want to, of course, recognize, I know he's been recognized many times, but Consul General of Egypt, Abulani, who is my friend. And I really appreciate having you here. I've seen you twice today. My pleasure. Very exciting. And I want to say to all of you here tonight that I really appreciate your work building bridges between the African continents and the rest of the world, but especially right here in our beautiful state of Illinois. From its very beginning, the story of Chicago, in particular, is a story of the African diaspora. And because, of course, the city, as we know, was founded by Jean-Baptiste Point du Sable, a Haitian of African and French descent. Jean-Baptiste Point du Sable, an immigrant, right? A Haitian of African and French descent. And the site where he originally settled in 1780 near the mouth of the Chicago River is now a National Historic Landmark. However, he wasn't automatically granted the same amount of credit as his white counterparts. That's a fact. And in fact, for a long time, he was written out of our history books. And as you know, there are people today running for offices and in current elected offices who would love to erase your history and your contributions to this country. And so that's why these events like tonight are more important than ever. We have to come together and stand up against that and tell the stories. Because all of you matter. All of you need to be seen, and all of your stories need to be told, because collectively they are the story of what truly makes our country here in America great. So thank you for your contributions every day. And we must honestly, repeatedly commit ourselves to learning about and honoring the ongoing history and contributions of those peoples of African descent. As a first-generation daughter of immigrants myself, My parents came from Mexico, and I'm the very proud daughter of Mexican immigrants. I know that it is, in fact, our diversity, and it's the diversity of our state and nation that makes us great. Now, wherever you come from, wherever you call home now, we welcome you in Illinois with open arms. Whether you are coming to visit or to plant your roots and grow in this state, you are valued and respected here. Back when I was in the Illinois State Legislature, I was very privileged to visit Tanzania. Where's my friend from Tanzania? Right there. Tanzania in the house. And Uganda. Right there at my table. In 2002, as part of the American Council of Young Political Leaders, part of the U.S. State Department, and I met with government officials and wonderful leaders of NGOs doing amazing work in their respective countries. And it was truly one of the most fulfilling experiences I've ever had in my work as a government leader. In fact, I can't believe it was 21 years ago. It feels like it was just yesterday. But I truly value and treasure my time there and the friendships that were forged there. In fact, a few years later, after my visit, I invited my friend Daniel, who brought a group of farmers from Tanzania here to Illinois. And among the many experiences that we were able to share together during those beautiful days, their visit, I enjoyed taking them to separate farms in the state of Illinois and having them learn about how we do agriculture here in our state, and how we eat, for example, the GMO corn that was being donated back in those years to African countries, and there was a lot of misinformation, and people were starving, yet they had so much GMO corn, and I remember eating it with them here, and they were like, "You're eating this?" And I said, "Yes," and everyone, this is what we do here in the United States. And the most interesting experience with them when they came to see the harvest of the corn was that my friend Daniel asked the farmer, "Well, where's the corn? Where is it? I don't see any corn on the ground." And he says, "That's because if you see corn kernels on the ground, that's money on the ground." Right? The corn is in the tractor, it's in the harvest machine. And so it was such an amazing experience, because when I was there, you don't see the John Deeres on the farms. You see people and their hard work and their labor. And you see women and children, where I was, having to walk miles just to bring water to their villages. And those things leave a lasting impact on you. They do, because it makes you never take the luxuries of a place like this for granted. And not everyone, in even our own country, still has clean running water. Right? So I would certainly not be one to critique, but it's important to be one to support and to understand that we are all, no matter if there's an ocean that separates us or economic class that separates us, at the end of the day, we are all, even regardless of what our color is, so much closer to each other in what we want for ourselves, for our families, and for our world, than we have differences separating us. So I really appreciate the opportunity, of course, to be here, to talk to you a little bit about my personal experience having visited Africa 21 years ago. I think it's time to go back. Yes. And maybe I'll go with you on that trip June 2nd, Carol. Yes. But truly, I was very honored to welcome our friends from that experience. You build friendships that are lasting and that then equate to not just us visiting and learning about them, but them coming and visiting about us. So that there isn't a them and an us, there's a we. Yes. And that's what's really important and beautiful about these types of collaborations and programs. And Illinois is, in fact, a welcoming state. And it's a state that, despite the challenges of recent years, is mid-revival. I want to tell you a little bit more about that. I know Olivier said if anyone owes you money to come see me. That's at the state level, but hopefully I don't owe anybody money because we're doing a good job. I first stepped into the role as controller back in 2016 at the very end of the year in December. And it was right in the middle of a horrific budget impasse that lasted 736 days under a different governor and a different controller. And our bill backlog, that's the backlog of unpaid bills to vendors doing services for our state in good faith. That bill backlog had reached $17 billion of unpaid bills. It was the worst in the nation and the worst in our state's history. And it was a challenge that many people said to me I was insane or crazy to try to take on, that there was no way that our state could recover, that if you were smart, you would invest in U-Haul and leave the state of Illinois. And those were the words that I was told by so many people, even people who loved me, because they thought that it would be, in fact, an impossible task. But I truly believe that nothing is impossible. Impossible may seem really, really hard. That's why they call it impossible. But impossible just takes a little bit longer. That's it. And so I was willing at that time to run into the burning building and solve the problems before the house that I loved and that I served in as a state representative for 11 years caught on actual fire and collapsed, and lives were lost along with it. Now as controller, I am the fiscal accountability officer and watchdog for the state of Illinois. It's my personal and professional obligation to prioritize the most vulnerable people in our state. And I was laser focused on paying down the bill backlog, and more importantly, I delivered on my promise to do so. Yep. I'm very happy to report that today the backlog of unpaid bills is, guess what? Gone. Yes, it's gone. It's gone. It is now in accounts payable. That's what good businesses have, an accounts payable. Not a backlog, but an accounts payable. Which means it's just the regular cost of operating government for the people of Illinois. Today, our accounts payable is in fact under $1 billion. That's the lowest it's been in well over 15 years. It's a decrease of about 95% from when I took office, from the mess that I inherited. Back in 2017, our rainy day fund, that's the reserve that we have for an emergency, right? If there's an economic collapse, we'd want to have a default, right? An emergency bank that you break in case of emergency. Well, it had less than $60,000 in it when I became controller. That's not enough to cover 30 seconds worth of government operations. We have a $50 billion budget. And by the way, 210 business days is what it would take for us to pay our bills back then. But I had a bill backlog of $17 billion, I had less than $60,000 in our rainy day fund, and I had a bill payment cycle of 210 business days on average. Today, we have no bill backlog. We have that accounts payable, which is great. We don't have a 210-day business delay. We pay bills. My oldest bill today, Olivier, 15 days. 15 days, my friend. 15 days, faster than the private sector. And we have a rainy day fund. We actually have a rainy day fund, not less than $60,000. Today we have a rainy day fund of $1.7 billion with a B. And by the end of June 30th, we'll have $1.9 billion, close to $2 billion, a record high in the state of Illinois. And thanks to Representative Ammons and her colleagues and Governor Pritzker and the Speaker of the House, who's the first African American to ever hold that title, Speaker Welch, Emanuel Pritzker, and to President Harmon, together, our administration has made sure that we are replenishing that rainy day fund and that we're preparing our state for any economic collapse that happens through no fault of our own, right? So that is what we need to do, because it's not about protecting a number on a spreadsheet, right? When people talk about budgets and they talk about finances, they talk about them as if you're looking at a math problem, which it is math, but it's about people. That budget is a moral document as to what we think is important to invest in, which is always people. And when we're not paying our bills on time, that's just not a number on a spreadsheet. That tells the story about the people in Illinois who aren't getting access to the services they need, or the businesses in Illinois who are being turned into unwilling lenders to the state, whose businesses might collapse because the state is irresponsible. Those days are over, and I want to thank you for sending me to go clean up the mess that the prior administration left behind. And nothing is impossible. What people said was impossible took us less than 6 years to get done. So we're going to keep doing great things for Illinois, and we're going to keep making sure that here in Illinois we continue to be on the rise, that we're open for business, and that we continue to make our place, our state, a place that you and your families and that African diaspora can look at as a place that they can call their second home. Thank you. God bless you. It goes without saying that Africa is in my heart, as are all of you. And we go Rafiki Yango.
Thank you so much, Controller. Yeah, definitely. This is why we need very fierce, determined women in higher offices. Now I think it's about time for me to invite Ambassador Dr. Sameh Abdul Ainin, the Consul General of Egypt, to introduce our keynote speaker.
Thank you so much, everyone. I'm delighted. I'm honored to be here. Egypt is in the heart of Africa. I'm delighted to be with all my African close and dear friends this evening. Is she here already? Yeah? Okay. Now, let me thank all the previous speakers. We have had outstanding speakers throughout the evening, but we are very honored and delighted to welcome a dear friend, Her Excellency Ambassador Hilda Suka Mafaduzi, who is the permanent representative of our African Union to the United States based in Washington, D.C. She is traveling currently in Canada, I think so she couldn't make it and join us. But just a couple of sentences on Her Excellency the Ambassador. Her core mandate is to enhance and maintain existing bilateral ties, of course, between the African Union and the United States. These ties strengthen democratic institutions, advance trade and investment, knowledge sharing, promote peace and security, and mutual relationships between the U.S. and all the 55 African Union member countries, based on culture and shared values. Is she with us or not yet?
We are queuing her in. We are queuing her in. Can you tell them to unmute themselves?
Unmute, please. Can you unmute, please? Is there a magic way to... Okay, until this is solved, let me say a couple of things just to share and make use of this valuable time that because all of you is here. One is that I've been working very closely with Olivier since we met on strengthening the ties between African, Arab, Egyptian communities here and adding up to already the successful endeavors that he has been doing. And that has been, I would say, a huge challenge. But of course, with the tireless efforts of Olivier and others here, I also wanted to recognize Rash Darwish, who is the chair president of the Arab American Chamber of Commerce here, which also is a clear... Can you stand up, please? Yeah. Which is an added value that me and Olivier agreed so that we extend the value of the work of our African group. The second thing we have agreed over a year ago also is to look into practical means and action-oriented steps on bringing trade to a higher level between here, Midwest, Chicago states, the United States, and our African nations. I think it's still lagging behind, and we have had a few plans of conferences together. Olivier has been successful in starting the first one with, of course, His Excellency, the President of Uganda, but there are several other plans coming in process. Yeah, I'm trying to fill up the time. Am I doing fine, or yeah? Okay. If she changes her mind, you know. Well, the third challenge that me and Olivier have been examining is how we can emphasize the presence of the cultural dimensions of the African diaspora, and making sure that we make the best out of Africa Cultural Month here. You know, we do have the Arab Month that we have been celebrating now, and that has been taking progress. And I'm sure that several success stories have been registered there, but we also would like to make the same steps in the African group, especially with so many countries of our African Union organization here. You know, over the last 2 days in Sharm el-Sheikh, the Egyptian resort on the Red Sea, we have had the African Development Bank meetings over the last few days. And the top issue, as Olivier was saying and other speakers, is the issue of finance and economics. Any luck? Yeah. Should I continue? Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna put next.
Yeah? Okay. So, is she... Okay, welcome, Ambassador.
We're gonna go next.
Okay.
When she becomes available.
Okay. I will do this again, all? Thank you so much. Thank you. A pleasure and honor. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry. It's okay.
Now I want to take the opportunity to bring to the podium the representative of the brand new mayor of Chicago, Mayor Brandon Johnson, but we're going to invite Umi Grisby, who is the chief policy person for the mayor. God bless you.
Thank you, everybody. Please tell me if the ambassador shows up behind me while I'm speaking. So, hello everyone, good evening. My name is Umi Grigsby, and I am the new Chief of Policy for Mayor Brandon Johnson. Since he's not here, I'm accepting his applause. I'm also a proud African immigrant and former refugee born in Monrovia, Liberia, with work and study experience in Senegal, Cote d'Ivoire, and Egypt. My family has a long history with Chicago. In fact, every time my father comes to visit, he talks about the fact that he was part of a Liberian delegation to visit Mayor Daley the Senior. And so when we're going around in my Uber or on the CTA, he tells me about how the last time he came, he was, all the roads were shut down, and so he was part of this caravan to go to City Hall. So it was I was very proud that we were able to host him with the new mayor when I was appointed to my role. So previously I served as Chief of Staff at the Chicago Foundation for Women. I was the Chief of Policy and Advocacy for the Office of the City Clerk of Chicago under City Clerk Anna Valencia, and also I served as an Assistant State's Attorney under the administration of Cook County State's Attorney Kim Fox. So I would like to add a name to the names that Olivier mentioned earlier, which is the first female president in Africa that I worked for, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, who is the president of Liberia. It is an honor to now serve the city of Chicago as your Chief of Policy. It's also an honor to center policies that lead to a stronger, better, safer Chicago. Thank you to the African Diaspora 6th Region Illinois Association, the African Global Chamber of Commerce, 49th Ward Alderperson Maria Haddon, all of the elected officials and dignitaries in the room, and Loyola University Chicago for hosting the 60th anniversary of Africa Day. Africa Day is a powerful example that in unity there is strength. It is also a day to reflect and celebrate the progress made by the African Union in achieving its goals. It symbolizes Africa's unity, commitment to peace, democracy, and economic development. As a symbol of Mayor Brandon Johnson's commitment to these same principles, he lifted up the unique and specific needs of Black immigrants in one of his first executive orders, calling for the creation of a deputy mayor of immigrant, migrant, and refugee rights on his first day in office. Today is also a great opportunity to celebrate the contributions of the African diaspora to our great city, starting foremost with our founder, Jean-Baptiste Point du Sable, a Black immigrant from Haiti. I am committed to ensuring that all voices are part of the policy-making process, including residents of the African diaspora. As we work together to strengthen our city, I am cognizant of the needs and priorities of all of our unique communities. Throughout this work, we realize the vital importance of engaging with community leaders and members like you to seek your input and guidance and to ensure that the city works for everyone. So as State Representative Ammon said earlier, we should have always been celebrating Africa Day in Chicago. And so on behalf of Mayor Brandon Johnson, I'm elated to present the following proclamation. She's not behind me. Okay, good. So now I can present this proclamation. So, is there? Okay. Sorry. Whereas since its establishment, the city of Chicago has always been home to vibrant communities of diverse people hailing from all over the world, boasting distinct cultural heritages, and whereas Chicago is proud to have residents that represent a myriad of African countries who have bolstered the city in the realms of art and music, business and finance, law and government, education and social service, and science and medicine. And whereas Africa Day was established in 1963 with the founding of the Organization of African Unity, now the African Union, whose mission was to encourage the decolonization of African countries, remove military access to colonial nations, and to improve the living standards across member states. And whereas the theme of Africa Day 2023 is Building the Africa We Want, and is organized by the African Diaspora 6th Region Association of Illinois. And whereas Africa Day is a powerful example of the power and unity that comes from unity and is celebrated by African communities across the world. And whereas May 25th, 2023 marks the milestone 60th anniversary of Africa Day and will be celebrated with the flag raising, speeches, and celebrations. Now, therefore, I, representing Brandon Johnson, Mayor of the City of Chicago, do hereby proclaim May 25th, 2023 to be Africa Day in Chicago and encourage all residents to join in celebrating the many contributions of our African communities.
Tell her we can hear. Good night.
Hello?
Now it works.
Yes.
It works.
We can hear you.
Okay.
We can hear you.
You may
Yeah,
speak.
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Use the mic, please. Use the mic.
We can hear you and we can see you. God bless you.
Yeah, that one, yeah.
We can hear you and we can see you. Welcome, Ambassador.
Okay, thank you. So should I go on to read the speech?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. Let me just say, I think the salutations have fallen out by this time. I think others have. I will just stand on all those protocols that is being established. And just to say, it's. Yeah, a glitch here, just a little bit, just so soon. It will be okay. Let me say, I wish I were there. If not for this overwhelming schedule of events for Africa Day, I could not make it to Illinois. But anyway, we are doing the same thing here in Canada, Toronto, where we are working with the diaspora. We have the raising of the flag of the African Union. These are some of your colleagues and some of your diasporans who really would want to know you and to meet you, because I told them I will be meeting you, I'll be talking to you just this afternoon. So it gives me great pleasure to be here among you this evening and greet you on this joyful and auspicious occasion on behalf of His Excellency Mr. Musa Faki Mahamat, Chairperson of the African Union Commission. As together we celebrate the 60th anniversary of the establishment of our premier multilateral and continental organization, the Organization of African Unity, now the African Union, and pay tribute to our founding fathers and to those who, in the dawn of the 20th century, initiated this remarkable Pan-African journey, the journey where we are, all of us, and the journey we are so excited about, the journey that allows us to be a human who are respected by other people on the earth planet. Our celebration of Africa Day with all of you is a moment that we cherish. It is a moment of celebration, but also of connecting the past to the present and reflecting on this exalting journey. It has been 60 years since the decolonization of Africa began in earnest, and more than 30 years since the independence of majority of countries in Africa was achieved. At the time, leaders like late Osayefo Kwame Nkrumah had declared with such high hopes that independent Africa will be a paradise. And he was not alone in his optimism. Indeed, the founding fathers of the Organization of African Unity in framing the Charter were mindful of the necessity of creating a propitious environment for peace and development on the continent to provide our people with a better quality of life. Our peoples who are on the continent and our peoples who are in the diaspora, as you are. Our gathering here is the evidence of our dedication and commitment to these goals. It is a clear indication that we want to take effective control of our destiny in the 21st century and proceed to build a new Africa in clear, precise and scientific ways. This implies a readiness to take stock of our activities and measure progress so that we can harness experience and rectify errors to ensure that we have an appropriate roadmap for African Renaissance. I see my responsibilities as the African Union representative here in the US at this point in time, therefore, is a bridge of opportunity to help advance mutually beneficial strategic partnership that will result in a stronger and respectful geopolitical alliance between Africa and the United States. And let me harness to say, this point that I've mentioned right now, actually, it can be in the paper, but it can be made into reality by you, the people of Africa. Those who look at Africa as their motherland, who say motherland is Africa. You are the people who are supposed to be at the forefront on making Africa a better place, making Africa that paradise that Kwame Nkrumah spoke about, our forefathers spoke about in 1963. The AU leadership in Africa and the AU mission in the US recognize and particularly I thank the leadership of our own brothers and sisters in the diaspora community in Illinois, Chicago, for their increasingly valuable work to support the advancement of a mutually beneficial relationship between the US and Africa. Let me truly thank you, people of Illinois. I wished to be with you. Yes, it didn't happen, but I've met you the past year, and you are such a vibrant lot, a vibrant people who want to see the Africa that we all want to live in. Our May 25, 2023 event is a part of a worldwide celebration of Africa Day by the African Union as member states, citizens, diaspora, and friends of Africa. On the ground, the African Union is making a tangible contribution to the improvement of the livelihoods of the African people and supporting our member states to achieve the vision of Agenda 2063. My brother Olivier Kamanzi will tell you is running with so many issues on the continent at the moment. Agenda 2063 has ignited and has made the people to really say, yes, this is the moment, and let's seize the moment, and this is the time we have to do that, make that difference, because the policy frameworks have been laid, they are on the ground, which means the environment is pertaining, and it needs players. It's a very good environment, and it has this policy framework on how we should move, the directions that we should take that will make us a people that is respected by other continents. Major initiatives include the launching of single African air transport market, as well as the signing of the African Continental Free Trade Area and the protocol on free movement of persons and the African passport. We should take pride in these achievements. Just around the corner, in June 2023, we will witness another milestone, the protocol of digital trade. We shouldn't be found wanting. Our young people with their initiative minds, they are playing around with this digital. But we're coming up with this protocol right now so that they have these frameworks way to work from in a way they can be connecting with others in other continents, in other countries. We are celebrating this day with this year's African Union theme, Accelerating of African Continental Free Trade Area Implementation. And I will take time to actually explain. I'll talk to Mr. Kamanzi to see if we can come up with an event where we will talk of the AFCFTA and they see where they can benefit and to have people gravitate towards this AFCFTA, which we are looking at and saying in 2030, our people will have come out of the doldrums where they are at the moment, and they're moving towards economic emancipation. The choice of the theme by our heads of state and the government reflects the importance our union attaches to speed up the implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area and fast track the overall economic integration agenda of the continent. Africa has a rapidly growing population, and by 2063, the 100th anniversary of the founding of the Organization of African Unity, and it is projected to have a population of more than 2 billion people, and in an estimated world population of 10 billion people, at least 1/3 of whom will be youth who will seek expanded health, human services, housing, education, employment, and a better life within the continent of Africa and the global economy. These are our young people. I was at a meeting in Los Angeles just recently, a week ago, 2 weeks ago, where they were talking about all the other continents in the world. People are aging. There are not many young people who can drive their economies. But Africa is different. Africa has the younger people who can drive the economies. And we are really running to town with that demography of population to say whatever we are putting together today, we have the people who are going to drive it and make a difference into the futures for themselves and for their children, and they make Africa great. The AU and the government of the 55 nations of the continent of Africa recognize these development challenges, and they are increasingly working on a cooperative private-public voluntary sector basis to expeditiously address them, the problems that we are seeing that are which are delving the continent as we speak today, of conflicts in here and there. However, in the next 2 to 3 years, against the aforementioned the global challenges, Africa will need to accelerate the support and engagement of our American and world diaspora to work in partnership with the African Union Network to advance our shared priorities and global partnerships. We need to unite around a common vision, shared values, collective awareness, and a strong commitment to Africa, as Africa will continue to speak increasingly with one voice and continue to protect and promote the interests of the continent on the world stage. And you are playing that role also. You are in the world stage, and you are playing that role, and the African Union will continue to do the same. There is definitely a need for all of us to be more actively involved to advance our shared values and interests. The unity and integration agenda of Africa is a collective ambition. Its realization requires, therefore, the involvement of all Africans and the support of the continent's strategic partners all around. And you are the people who will make a difference to make Africa be the Africa we want to see. But let us also remain vigilant and be conscious that much still needs to be done to overcome the challenges that could derail this hard-won progress. We know where we are coming from. We know the colonial era. We know the neo-colonialism that we are seeing, which is right in our continent. But we are saying we're watchful, and we know that everything that has to be done on the continent, why we have come up with this policy framework, everything that has to be done on the continent has to be at our own terms as Africa, to say this is how we want to move, this is how we want to partner with you when FDI really asks us, they want to work with us. Those who have interest with us will want to work with us, but we will determine the terms on how we move on. Let me reiterate my faith in the future of the Union and our beloved continent, as well as in a strong partnership between the United States and Africa that is strategic and forward-looking As we celebrate Africa Day, let us, as African women and men, youth and the old in the continent, in the African diaspora, and the Friends of Africa, rededicate ourselves to the realization of the African Union's vision of an integrated, prosperous, peaceful Africa, driven by its own citizens and representing a dynamic force in the international arena. To conclude, allow me to end my message by quoting the African Union's chairperson, Echi Musa Faki Mahama's message. I quote, "On this solemn day, the celebration of which plunges us back into the spirit of the founding fathers of the OAU, I would like to amplify their voices, which continue to reverberate beyond their graves, by making a vibrant appeal to all of us, Africans of the continent and of the diaspora, so that the strength of our unity and our long-awaited and expected solidarity operates henceforth as indispensable levers for our power and emancipation. Let us rely on ourselves first, the solidarity of our friends and the partners who will also come to supplement. Long live Africa, long live the friendship between the people. To all our friends, I want to say that the celebration of the African Union is 60 just started, and it is expected to extend to African Union up to September 9th and beyond under the slogan, Our Africa, Our Future. Happy celebration to all of you and all of us. I thank you very much.
Thank you so very much, Ambassador. We were so glad to listen to you. Thank you so very much.
Thank you very much.
Now, Ms. Cecilia Rodriguez, is she in the room? Oh, there you are. We want to change the screen. I have something real quick I'm going to show you. It's 2 minutes and 56 seconds, but you don't want to miss this video clip. In 2006, I made a trip to Ghana for the first time. I can't go into what that was like. 2007, they asked me to come back to be the national speaker for the youth organization. I don't have time to tell you what that was like. I just came back from Ghana, West Africa in September 2022. I could tell you a lot about that, but I don't have time. I want to show you this.
The next great move in the kingdom of God is the coming together of the African American and those of Africa coming together under the banner of Jesus Christ.
To my amazement, I saw things way above what I expected. There was tears in everybody's eyes. That is when you realize that we of the native African nation, we saw the wrong we did to our brothers.
I've never had any contact with African Americans when I get over here. So when I get over here, I started seeing them the way other African immigrants are seeing them. That they're having different agenda, they're having different culture, as we're having different culture.
I didn't know them to begin with. And then I thought maybe people I have not seen on a continent of Africa, maybe they're not interested about Africa.
Special is I'm coming to know who I am. All of my life, I've been trying to figure out what is my purpose, what is my aim, what is my goal. It's a homecoming. A homecoming of part of your family that you've heard about, but you never touched, you never hugged, you never smelled their beauty.
Reuniting means everything because we should be one, as the Father has called us to be one. And with this, nothing is impossible. A coming back to the original plan of God. A potential
message to everyone who is of African descent. And it is time for the African family to heal and to see herself through the eyes of God.
I believe that our reconciliation is the final piece of history. And for a very long time we have been separated, but I thank God for the name of Jesus Christ and the goodness of Almighty God that brings us together.
Thank you so very much. We produced this in 2008, I think. Dear brother, by way of heaven from Ghana, Dr. Paintsel and I have been doing this. Before there was a 2019 and a campaign to get African Americans from the U.S. to Africa by way of Ghana, I was already doing it. I visited in 2006, went back 2007, 2008, produced this. Pastor Paintsel and I have been doing it. We've done 15 of these coming home events, and it's all about bringing the diaspora on both sides of the Atlantic to come together in 4 strands: reconnection, reconciliation, restoration, and rejoicing. Please give a good God bless you to Pastor Paintsel, who's sitting right over there. Stand up. Good to see you, Pastor Paintsel. He's been with us. He's by way of heaven from God. Now, I'm going to turn this over to Dr. Berry, panel number 1.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Ronnie. But before going to the panel, I have 2 speakers, honorable speakers, that I would love to invite to the podium so they can give us at least a 2-minute, a 1.5 minute quick remark. The first one will be Honorable Dr. Harriet Lewis, from Honorable Consul General of Cabo Verde. Thank you.
Thank you
for your patience.
Oh no, my pleasure. Glad the lights are back on.
Yes.
And forgive me, I drafted these and I didn't read through them. I would like to thank everyone. Thank you, Olivier, for inviting me. Africa Union Diaspora 6th Region. Thank you for the presence of all the dignitaries who are in the space. I want to acknowledge my colleagues from the Council of Corps, from Nepal, from Congo, from Egypt. Thank you. Happy Africa Day. And forgive me, I'm going to read. I have it on my phone, so I'm going to read. I would like Happy Africa Day, or as I remember it from many years ago, and for those of you who may or may not be familiar, Happy African Liberation Day. And I apologize if I'm stepping on any toes, as it's been changed from African Liberation Day to Africa Day. But I always acknowledge and remember and reflect on African Liberation Day. As you know, I represent the beautiful country of the Republic of Cabo Verde to the state of Illinois. And if you haven't been there, you need to go. Sunshine, beaches, and a peaceful, open, and progressive society. And I'm planning a trade mission in November, so talk to me if you're thinking about wanting to check out the beautiful, progressive, and open society of Cabo Verde, which is off the coast of West Africa, if you're not familiar. Senegal, Gambia, Guinea-Bissau. Go off in the ocean a little bit, you'll find 10 islands, 9 are inhabited. Beautiful Cabo Verde. I'm going to take 2 more minutes to focus on 3 points: culture, vision, and community. First point, culture, which is aspiration number 5 of the Africa we want. An Africa with a strong cultural identity, common heritage, shared values, and ethics. And for this point, I'm going to share a few quotes from the revolutionary leader of the PAIGC, the African Party for Independence of Guinea-Bissau and Cabo Verde, Amilcar Cabral. In 1970 speech on national liberation and culture, he said, it is not possible to harmonize the economic and political domination of a people, whatever may be the degree of their social development, with the preservation of their cultural personality. Meaning, it is nearly impossible to subjugate people indefinitely when their cultural identity is intact. meaning if people are to be subjugated, they must be stripped of their identity, or they must be taught to not value their identity, or they must be told that they have no culture or identity. Therefore, we need to acknowledge and continue to teach our children that our culture, our many cultures of people of African descent around the world, is our superpower, even when societies have tried to quash it. Second point, vision, which is connected to Aspiration 7, Africa as a strong, united, resilient, and influential global player and partner. This aspiration mentions outer space. And, I'm excited about this because, unfortunately, when people think about the continent of Africa, they don't think about outer space. Outer space is specifically mentioned in Aspiration number 7. In December, there was a U.S.-Africa Space Forum which highlighted the partnership and cooperation to address issues such as climate, biodiversity, and food crisis. There's a lot of development across the continent as it relates to space exploration and space and outer space initiatives in Rwanda, in Kenya, in Nigeria, and Egypt will house the Africa Space Agency. Just wanted to highlight that because the diaspora needs to support forward-thinking initiatives such as space. And my third and final point, community, which ties to aspiration number 1, a prosperous Africa based on inclusive growth and sustainable development. And so the example that I'm giving you is of an African-American woman. Her name is Angel Gregorio. You can look her up. She's the CEO of Spice Suite, S-U-I-T-E, the physical type of suite. And who during Kwanzaa last year on the Day of Ujima, which is collective work and responsibility, she announced the expansion of her business and vision that involves helping other Black women entrepreneurs with physical space and training and other support in the spirit of community. And the reason why I'm lifting her up is because she is furthering development, furthering entrepreneurs, and she is also of the diaspora. Her space is called Black and Forth, which expresses her process of supporting entrepreneurs going back and forth with Black business owners. And I intentionally decided to highlight a person from the diaspora because the diaspora can't or won't support African continental economic endeavors unless, and this may be controversial, I don't think so, but it may be. 1, the diaspora is supporting a family member or family members' initiatives, or 2, they have generated enough revenue in order to take care of their families in the diaspora first, and then consider what they can do to support the continent. And point number 2 is the bigger dilemma when trying to engage the broader diaspora, and we have to really think about that. Even first and second generation immigrants in supporting continental African endeavors. And I posit, in order for people of African descent globally to secure economic and political development, or to continue to build economic and political development, we need to, it's for us to be free and to be and to become however we choose. We need to value our culture and, more importantly, move the way we move, and continue to further a vision that we control and benefits the people of African descent globally. And so again, even though it came like a Debbie Downer, let's celebrate Africa Day. Let's reflect on Africa Day. Let's reflect on everything that we've been through, everything that we want to be, and let's continue to lift up our continent, lift up our people globally, and be all that we can be. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Harriet. I would like to invite Dr. Malunga, Honorary Consul General, for a 1-minute remark. Just one. I know you can make it short and sweet.
I'll make it 30 seconds. Thank you very much. My name is Dr. Sylvain Malonga. I'm the Honorary Consul of Republic of Congo, Brazzaville, in Chicago and the Midwest. On behalf of the people of Congo, I would like to wish happy birthday to the African Union celebration. But I would like to mention Africa is older than 60 days or 60 years, because we are all from Africa, or we have part of Africa in us, because the first humankind emerged from Africa. and life started from Africa and spread all over. So for that reason, I would like to say again, Happy African Day, and have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. And now, Honorable Dago Martinez for another 30-second remark. Yeah, Consulate General of Colombia.
Hi everyone, thank you very much for this amazing opportunity to be here. It's an honor to me. African diaspora is a future of the humanity. African diaspora needs to tell his own history, his own history that changed these paradigms, that changed these histories that they speak about loss of opportunities, unemployment, loss of education, loss of health. We need to tell his own history. It's his own history that tells about prosperity, that tells about one economic system that thinks in human beings, that thinks in opportunities, and that thinks, and we need to create more advantage, more spaces, more unified, because African diaspora in the whole world needs to engage together, to engage and establish a new paradigm that they tell we need together. We need together more better, because we need a world that Black people obtains more opportunities and more challenges to build a better world for everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And now, Honorable Norma Jackson for 30 seconds of remark. Thank you so much. Should have prepared you.
Thank you. Hello, hello, hello. Thank you so much. Happy birthday again. Happy anniversary. Happy Africa Day. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm just happy to report to you that Colombia has opened up its doors to the continent of Africa after 500 years. And our Vice President has made it a point to establish collaboration with the continent and the first 3 countries that we visited, Kenya, South Africa, and Ethiopia. Next online is Senegal, Nigeria, and Ghana for embassies. The next embassy of Colombia in Africa is going to be open in Ethiopia. We already have South Africa and Kenya. So here we go. Here we come, Africa. Colombia is on board with Africa, and all of these opportunities that are presented here are going to be bearing fruit for the benefit of both Africa, Latin America, and Latin America in general, Colombia in particular, and Africa. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, definitely we manage the time as much as we can, but you know, we exist in time. We're Africans, right? Our next schedule is a panel, so we'll start our first panel, and we'll try our best to manage it within the time that we have. I think it's a hardcore to leave this space at 9. Can we do 9:15?
Let's aim for 9, and then.
Okay, and then we'll. All right. I'll take that. So, for the first panel is going to happen under the theme of State of the United States of Africa, reflection on the African Organization Unity to African Union. And I would like to invite my panelists. I have a phenomenal panelist who I would invite here. And my plan was to read through their bio, their brief bio, but it will take a lot of time. Even that very brief bio will take a lot of time. They're just phenomenal and vibrant people, and you will see their bios under that. Yes, exactly there. Thank you so much. So I would like to invite Professor Sharon Bethia, Pastor Dr. Isaac Pencil, Senior Pastor of Christ Oasis Church, Bishop Lance Davis, founder of Building Our Own Community, and last but not least, Mr. Omar Diallo, the president of Guinea Community in Chicago and Iowa. Yeah, Professor Bethia is Professor of Consular Education, Coordinator of African American Studies at NEIU. Please be seated. And I am going to give them really 2 minutes to reflect on a couple of questions about Africa. They are really, really short. So, thank you so much, phenomenal people, and I really apologize for not going through your phenomenal bios. My very first question that I would like you guys to reflect on is, what is Africa for you, and what does Africa represent? And I would love to start with Mr. Diallo. Here, I can give you this.
Hi. They put me on the spot here. I shouldn't have started because I have some of my elders, and I went to NEIU as a student, and my professor, so I should let you guys start first, but I mean, that's okay. My name is Omar Telly Diallo. I am the president of the Guinean Community Associations of Illinois and Iowa. I was born in Senegal, and my parents are from Guinea. I came to the U.S. right after high school. I went to college in NEIU, as I said, and my major was political science with a concentration in international studies in Africa. I minored in African and African American studies, and I also minor in French as well. What does Africa represent for me? Well, that's a big question. So, like, I represent Africa myself, I'm truly honored and humbled to be here among everybody. And as you know, the first Secretary General of the African Organization Unity name was Diallo Telly. He was the first African. I mean, I wasn't named after him, but we have the same name. So, like, this is truly humbling for me. Now, as you know, like, Africa is the richest continent. We have probably, like, in 20 years, we will have 2 billion people around the world. We have young Africans, like youth. And what I truly want for Africa is for people to be able to move freely, right? I mean, I think most of you talked about it. And then, like, you know, fight against corruptions. And as you know, Africa is known as to be the cradle of humankind. But we do not move freely in Africa. It's hard for a person to move from Senegal all the way to Zimbabwe, or from Botswana all the way to Kenya, or from Egypt. You need a visa. So, and the good thing about my generation, as this young generation, we did not grow up with the colonization. So like we studied in America, we went to school here. So what we want for Africa is truly for us, like, you know, to be independent, right? So I guess we only have 2 minutes. Again, I'll come back. But I just want to say this. While I was studying my classes, I really loved Malcolm X. And one of the quotes he says, I'm going to say it and read it in front of everyone. He said about Africans when he went to, actually in Egypt, when he spoke before the president, he said something. He said, a race of people is like an individual man until it uses its own talent. I mean, he was talking about Africa, he was talking about young Africans, right? And he said, takes pride in its own history, like we used to take pride on our own history, who we are, express our culture, and we need to affirm our own selfhood, and it can never fulfill itself. So basically, like, if we don't pronounce who we are as African, like no one would come and say, you are African. So that's all I wanted to say, and thank you. And thanks for the opportunity, and sorry.
Thank you. Can I have my mic? Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, freedom of movement and claiming who we are. I think that's very, very important. Thank you so much, Lou. Now I'm going to move to Bishop Davis. Why do we need to go back? Way back, transcending decolonization and slavery, right? In history to understand Africa and Africans in the continent and the diaspora.
Thank you so much, and it's an honor to be here. Happy Africa Day for everyone. I would first say I've pastored in the south suburbs for 30 years, but I will also say that being born and raised on the west side of Chicago, one of very few folks, west side in the house, but one of very few folks, especially males, who survived the west side of Chicago in the 1960s and 70s, and having teachers who then looked at me and my friends as dark-skinned, and so we sat in the back of the classrooms, and we talked about Chicago, not Selma, Alabama. And what I will say is that when the teachers talked about how much they hated Africa and how dirty it was and how diseased it was, when I looked at how much they hated me, I said Africa must be the place for me. So I will tell you this much, that as it relates to going way back, my partner, Lanice Thomas Flagg, is here. We have a company, Sankofa US, which specializes in taking African Americans and black folks of African descent back to Ghana, specifically to have a return experience. And in order to do that, then we have to facilitate those trips, recognizing that we believe that as African Americans, we have a hole in our soul. That as long as you think that this is your original home, and if we talk about originality, that Africa was called Ortija or Akeludalon. So before it was called Africa. So if we go really far back, we realize that through what Dr. Jennings will call isolation and fragmentation is the reason why we are so disassociated and we're so disenfranchised from each other right now. And so I believe that in order to undo that work that's been done by colonizers and by Europeans, we need to name the fact that we were separated and fragmented intentionally, and then intentionally return back to the place where we came from, and that will solve the violence issues in the city of Chicago.
Oh, I have one. Thank you so much, Bishop Lance. Yes, definitely. Let's be together, be intentional about intentionally defragmenting the fragmentation that's been done to us. That is phenomenal. All right, moving on. I would like to ask Dr. Isaac Pencil, what should we do to create a united voice, a united movement to move forward with love and harmony? When we talk about harmony, I am thinking harmony within us, with each other, and our interaction with the world and cosmos. And then with this question, Dr. Bethia will give us the conclusion after you reflected on it.
Thank you very much. And thank you so much for this opportunity. I want to piggyback on what the pastor talked about as far as we going all the way back and then looking at where we are now. As a young man, I think I introduced myself earlier on. I came from heaven, back born in Ghana, and then came to the United States quite a long time ago. And when I was in Ghana, I was really looking forward to seeing my African American brothers and sisters, because there was this intrigue, the part of us actually had been taken off from us, and I was very desirous of meeting them. Came to Chicago and recognized that there was a big chasm, between continental Africa and African Americans here. It's something that is the beast in the room, is the big elephant in the room. Most of the time we don't want to talk about. And I realized that we needed to take certain steps, and we needed to be very radical about it in order to go from where we were to that kind of unity that we must have, because I was really believing that we're going to be received with a certain kind of excitement and joy, and recognize that that wasn't. Let me get back to something in the sense of the harmony that we must have. I don't want to go the way back. I want to look at 1844, the Berlin Conference. And if you look at the Berlin Conference, after we've been divided like a piece of bread, those who were there in the very beginning, they are not alive now. Then we had those who lived during the colonial period. Many of them are not alive. I came in a generation of, maybe I would call it the peri-colonial period. My country had independence already. That was in 1957 in Ghana. And, but we were heavily conscientized, by the colonial powers. Our education, our naming, our everything else was heavily conscientized. So despite we sometimes making it sound like we're independent, we realize that we are heavily influenced with it. I'm looking at my wife, they're so excited about things pertaining to Europe, and I tell my wife that, you know something, we were heavily conscientized, and as a result of that, our history was not told. I always say that Chinua Achebe, of blessed memory, made a statement. He said, unless the lions have their own historians, the history of the hunt will always favor the hunter. Yes. I want to say it again. Unless the lions have their own historians, the history of the hunt will always favor the hunter. And that is the reason. And that is, after we don't know so many things of recent times, I thank God for technology, I thank God for knowledge. The person who and I understand is an African American, so that we can take pictures. Everything was filtered through BBC, CNN, WWN, TTW, so many different things that we couldn't get exactly the story that we're supposed to have. I'm so glad that right now the narrative is changing. I thank God for your generation, in the sense that I see African youth, empowered, entrepreneurial in their mind. I went to medical school, but through medical school, we were trained to really work for other people. We were not trained to be entrepreneurial, to be independent. We were trained to work for the civil force and other things. But I think that the Africa of the future is very, very, very exciting, because I'm seeing young men and women coming around. You didn't have the baggage that we have. And I don't want you to have it. Because Africa, in the next 40 years, in the next 100 years, the best is in Africa. But finally, all that I ask of AU is that if it is possible, let us have a common language. I know in 1963, they tried to introduce Swahili. Let's start from somewhere. The moment we start speaking with our own language, we start thinking about some things. It may not happen in my generation, as I said. Let's start from the preschool. Let's Swahili, I come from Ghana, I could have said Chile, but let's Swahili become because many people speak Swahili. Let's not fight among ourselves. Let's just choose one. I don't care whatever language it is. Let's start from preschool the next 50 years, 100 years. It will be a different story. Thank you.
Thank you. Definitely, we need to rewrite our history. Dr. Bethia, close us I know you would close as strong, so.
Hello, everybody. What a pleasure to be here. Happy Africa Day. I'm saying that for me, every day is Happy Africa Day. Not working? Y'all get the first part? Can you hear me now? Yes. So again, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me. Happy Africa Day, and I said that looking up because for me, every day is Happy Africa Day. So trying to bring it, putting it all together, there's a couple things I've got to add. The first question is what Africa means to me is home. I can still remember and almost cry every time, the first time I got so, right? Understanding that against my will, I was stolen and taken and brought to this space does not make me African. And I truly believe to be African or not to be. That's where I live in, that's where I'm from, that's how I do things. We talk about kind of the second question, looking back, that I also, for decade, over probably 15 years now, and take students back home. And part of my pleasure is watching them also put their first foot on what it means to be home and watching them transform immediately. You don't know what it is or why it is. You don't have to say anything. You look at each other. Ghana, Egypt, Tanzania, Burundi, diaspora, Brazil, and just this notion of standing on sacred ground. Comes to the third question, which I have to think about.
How can we be united? United.
How
Moving
do we become
on.
a united voice? So and that's a huge question to try to ask in a couple minutes. I just want to say really quickly that part of the 2063 is to stop the guns. I think that's supposed to happen in 2020. What year is this?
2020.
I just wanted to make sure that the genocide and the killing and the corruption on purpose by design, that we've got to teach our youth. It's on purpose by design. We've got to teach it on purpose by design to stop this unity from happening. And we notice the more we become united as an African people, the more the battles happen, right? The more the murder. It's like we sit down, I love celebrating, and then I take students to Burundi, and I'm like, wow, what a beautiful land, but what's still happening there, right? In other places and spaces. What's happening in Guyana right now, right? And people know what's going on because they found oil there, right? And they're decapitating Africans. So this notion of not only talking about having no more passports, that we've got to talk about that in our mind. We can take away this notion, take away the lines, as long as we believe that we're not the same people, there's a problem. And I hear it here, and I hear it there. I hear it everywhere. I travel a lot to a lot of countries. We have to stop. A lot of Africa. It's my favorite place to be. And what I noticed over the years, when people have actually said to me, "Why do you keep calling yourself African American? You ain't African." I got told that so many times to African, right? Well, I didn't get a choice. And if I would have chose, I would have chose home. I would have chose Africa. So let me have a conversation from there. How are we both Africans? It's because the cherry tree left Zimbabwe and came to Chicago and making out cherry tree. Now my skin is supposed to be it's hella cold here. Even though it's beautiful out there. It's very cold here. And so maybe some things had to change, but I'm still a cherry tree, so I still get to be African. So let's not have that argument, number one. Right? Number two, how do we come together and talk about changing curriculum, K through PhD, and then making sure as a people we trust our own people. I know black people, African have amazing schools, and people think that it's better to be in white schools. Any day, anyhow, that there's something wrong with our schools, and what is missing in that equation that in schools that we create, we understand that we're the center, because think about it. There's nothing we haven't created, there's nothing we've done, there's nothing we can't do, there's nothing, we are, every mineral we have access to, every mineral is in our midst. So I guess I asked that question, what can you do today? I love the reparations movement, but we've been talking about reparations in the United States since 400 years. Every time I hear it, they act like it's a new conversation. Cali House a long time ago, right? So we keep that movement going. What about what's going on between both of us? And so I got time, because I have so much more to say on that.
We have
30 seconds, please. Please.
Well said.
Okay, all right.
All right. Thank you so much, phenomenal panelists. I know it's not fair to give you 10 seconds for all of this, but thank you.
I'm so glad that Dr. Berry had a chance to do her panel. I'm supposed to do panel number 2. My beloved, marvelous, magnificent chair, we can't do panel number 2. I'm instructed that our contract closed at 9 o'clock, so we have to leave. Now I've been given instructions that how you got here, you can't go back that way. I'm now told there's another way to get out. So listen to me carefully right now. I'm so glad that we had this time together, just to have a laugh and even sing a song. It seems like we just got started, and before you know it, the time has come that we have to say so long. If you remember that from those from America, that was Carol Burnett. That's how she closed her show. So, Chairman, you say one word, and now we're going to show you how to get out the door. Can't do it. We have to have it. She says we have to do it.
Okay. So, what to say? I'm going to invite somebody who did not speak. You know, I'm not here alone. We have a group. I want to invite those organizers who put together this event. Wherever you are, can you just be recognized, please? Peace, are you there? Peace, are you here? Please come over here. Please come over here, please. Sister Eunice, can you come here? Yeah, just come. Sister Eunice, come here. Brother Blair, can you come over here? Brother Blair, DT, Dion, Taylor, can you come over here? Brother Kenny, can you come over here? Brother Kenny, please, quicker. The chief of Yassa Restaurant, can you come over here? Yassa? Do you have someone from Dozi's still around? Anyone from Dozi Restaurant, come over here, please. And then, who else? Am I missing somebody? You, of course, beautiful wife, come over here. And then, okay, yeah. Lanis, welcome here. Of course, Lasandra, where is Lasandra? Can you someone call Lasandra at the registration desk? Can you call David Matanda? Can come over here? All members of Africa Diaspora 6 Region Association of Illinois, can you come over here, please? All those who are members. If you are not a member, Christophe Monwam, can you come over here, please? Please, to put together a program like this, it costs, right? It costs. So if you want to donate to the organization, there is a QR code right here. Just scan your phone. No money is too little. Any donation is welcome. You scan here, donate something, right? Anything you can do, scan here. If you want to become a member, if you're not here on the podium, it means you are not a member. We want everybody to join. Everyone, it doesn't matter. You heard what Brother Dr. Isaac Purcell said. I'm not African because I was born in Africa. I'm not African because I was born in Africa. I'm African because Africa was born in me. It's not about the color of the skin. It doesn't matter how you look like. We all Africans. So please, there's a QR code on your left, right? Right? It's a join. Scan this QR code and they join the organization. If you want to build Africa, we want. Better do it. Who else gonna do it? If you don't do it, then who and when? Now I'm gonna call our vice chairperson, to provide the thank you or closing remarks. We have from Colombia, she's from Colombia. Our secretary is from African American, who is all diverse, coming from all over the world. She's from Colombia, Eunice Mina Escobar.
I was glad that they had taken my time, but anyway, thank you. Muchas gracias a todos. Tenemos personas hispanohablantes aquí, so los estoy saludando. Thank you everyone for being here. My last name is Mina, which my sister from the restaurant reminded me that I'm from her country. Right here, right? Ivory Coast. Ivory Coast. So I am one of the privileged Africans that I still have my African name. It happened a lot in Colombia. We have Mina, Mandinga, Lukumi, Popo, Toto, etc. So I'm very proud to be here with you. My mission today is to invite you to please join us. We want next year or the next event to have all of you over here. So please join us. As the chairman indicated, we have in there for you to donate. Now I want to raise hands. Who wants to donate? Who's going to donate? We want to have raise hands. Okay, I want commitments, please. I want commitments. Okay. I know we have already some generous people in the room that will help us to cover the food, but we still own 2 restaurants. They're right there behind me asking me for the money. So please join us. Please contribute. We have to cover the expenses of this event and all the other events that we want to do. We're planning a delegation to Colombia, yay, to visit the first Black woman elected vice president in Colombia. It happened because we know in Colombia where we came from. Our history is very present, our ancestors are very present, our African culture is very present in Colombia, and we struggle and fought very hard to have the first Black woman elected vice president. We want to repeat that history in all over Latin America and all over the world. So please join us.
And you have to tell everybody here that because she's the very, very, very first Black VP in our country, which is the most racist country in the world, she's under threat every single day. And they have found explosives near her house, so she has to be transported from her house to the Congress by helicopter. She's been threatened to be killed. And it's no joke. We have a lot of that in our country.
So that's why, that's why on behalf of the African diaspora, the chair, we're inviting everyone to join us to go in a delegation to tell Francia Marquez, our vice president, that we're supporting her. I know the chairman is very committed to come with us and to meet with her. We're also inviting her to come to the United States, so please stay tuned. Please join us. Please donate to us so we can continue doing this work. Thank you so much for being here tonight, and we love you.
Give to her honorary council.
My wife and I both want to join. My adopted country of Nepal is not in Africa yet, but we love you members.
Okay, please join us. We have the first 2 members. Who else? We need members and we need funds. And I want to thank my friends who donated money to our group. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Thank you.
I'll say, okay, what did you say? Okay, thank you so much. Enjoy your night. Continue to mobilize, continue to enjoy your night. It's Africa Day until midnight. Thank you so much. Have a good night. You open a restaurant? I do not eat.